Arsenal play Porto in what I believe is one of the biggest games of our most recent history. Arsenal not winning the Champions League is a stick that Arsenal fans have been beaten with for decades now. And I truly believe this could be the season where we change that narrative forever. I think Arsenal have a unique opportunity to go really far in this competition this season. Because not only are Arsenal so strong this season, maybe the Champions League isn't as strong this year than it has been in previous years. Now, it would still be an unbelievable achievement to win the Champions League, but there's some key areas that we probably need to focus on to be able to get a result in this game. And we're going to talk about everything. But as always, I would love to hear people's thoughts and opinions on this game. So make sure you let me know in the comment section. So this game is massive. But before we get into it, do me the favor, if you enjoy this type of content, just give me a thumbs up on this video. So Arsenal v Porto at home in the Champions League. If we win this game, we go through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. How good does that sound? How many years has it been since Arsenal have been able to mutter those words? Arsenal were a team with such amazing pedigree, but the title of European champions have eluded them for so many years. And I do think this could be the year that it could change, and it starts tomorrow night against Porto. So the main area we need to assess to try and understand the possibility of Arsenal progressing to the next round, it's always going to start with a team sheet. We saw on the weekend, Gabriel Martinelli was pictured after the game against Brentford on crutches. This isn't the injury that we got sold. We got told Martinelli had a slight cut on his ankle and it's nothing to worry about. But when you see Gabriel Martinelli on crutches, you know, it does make you think, is there something more sinister behind this injury? Has he had to have surgery? Is there a broken bone? Because let's be honest, we've all had cuts in our lives. But how many of us have honestly had to be on crutches for a cut? That's why I'm hoping for an update from Mikel Arteta to see how bad this cut is. You know, what is the injury that Gabriel Martinelli is carrying? Because without Gabriel Martinelli, I think it does affect our chances. Now, are Arsenal still capable of beating Porto without Gabriel Martinelli? Of course. We have a team full of superb players, more than capable of beating this Porto team. But we do have to get some things right on the night. You know, when we played Porto in the last game, they was probably a team that was a bit out of form. Since then, they've beat the first position in the Portuguese league 5-0. You know, they hammered them, so this is very much a team in form, but they're coming up against a team who is very much in form. You know, and when you look at the way Porto play, they're not this big, expansive, fluid team. You know, they like to sit compact, and I don't think there's any great game that can give you greater experience of that than the game we just played against Brentford on the weekend. The ball was in play for a total of 49 minutes in that game. If you remember back to the last game, people were so frustrated about the amount of time played in that game. I think it was 50-something minutes, but this game against Brentford was even less than that. So Arsenal have had the perfect experience needed. But not just that. In that game against Porto, we saw how easily the ref was blowing his whistle. How easily persuaded he was when the Porto player goes to ground. The whistle was already blown. I don't think that's going to be the same story in this game. I think Arsenal are going to be able to play football. I think Arsenal are going to be able to be slightly more aggressive. Not in terms of buying fouls and stuff like that. But literally in the last game, you would just have to go shoulder to shoulder with someone and the Porto players would go down. But Porto will play the same way in this game. They're going to sit low. They're going to try and defend for their lives. And if they can, they're going to try and nick a goal on the break. But I think Arsenal have more than enough experience within this team to break this team down. And that leaves you asking, what team do you go with? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. It'd be interesting to try and gauge people's opinions on a couple of these selections, because I think we've got a couple of different ways of going about this game. It depends how you want to approach it. Now, in a lot of people's opinion, and maybe mine, you probably go with the team that we've been playing recently, but there is a different formula we could use to try and break down this Porto team. Firstly, you know, Raya's going to come back in goal. We saw Ramsdale make that huge mistake against Brentford on the weekend. It just shows his lack of confidence. We don't need to go back into that, but Raya will be back in goal for this game. So I think that will bring back a level of confidence within this defence that we've seen so oftenly this season. Ben White at right back, Gabriel and Saliba, and that's where your first question comes in. On that left back position, you know, Kiwior, he's played very well so far when he's been asked upon this season. Kiwior's grown into that role. He seems like a player who's playing with so much confidence now as well. So do you rip that away from Kiwior? Not even necessarily rip it away, or do you go with a different idea? Do you play Zinchenko in, knowing that Porto are going to sit deeper and Zinchenko does offer more going forward? You know, if you want to be really attack-minded straight away, you could probably have Ben White getting forward, Zinchenko getting forward, and just have Gabriel and Saliba at the back. Now, of course, that's risky, and you do open yourself up to a counter-attack, and if they do press you on the counter-attack, you are vulnerable. So in my opinion, I probably play Kiwior, and then if it gets to desperate measures at sort of 60, 70 minutes, I think that's when you go gung-ho. I think that's when you throw Zinchenko on. That's when you tell Ben White and Zinchenko both to overload the middle of the park and fly up against Porto. But for me, I play Kiwior, Declan Rice, and then you've got your second conundrum. Do you go with Jorginho, who's been playing so well, who can unlock doors? Or do you go with a Havertz and then play Jesus up front? Or even go with a Jesus or a Trossard in that number 8 position? Let me know. Look, in my opinion, I probably stick with Jorginho. You know, if it hasn't been broken recently with Jorginho in the middle of the park, so let's not try and fix it. Jorginho has unlocked doors. Jorginho does sit further back to allow Declan Rice to fly further forward. And I think Arsenal are going to have a lot of the ball in this game. You know, we've heard Mikel Arteta's war cries recently saying how much of a bear pit he expects the Emirates to be tomorrow night, and I couldn't agree more. You know, we're probably going to experience an atmosphere that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. This is new to everyone. This is new to Mikel Arteta. He hasn't been in this position yet with a team. You know, so the players are going to want to produce. Mikel Arteta's going to want to produce. The coaching staff, the fans. I think it's all going to culminate in this being an unbelievable experience. And I think that could spur these players on to try and really do something special in this game. And I think if we can get that early goal, that will open Porto up. You know, and we know what happens when teams open up. Arsenal have the ability to just find space in places that are absent of it. We have the Odegaards, we have the Jorginhos, we have the Sakas and Ben Whites who are able to create triangles and link up and just unlock any door. No matter how stubborn it seems, Arsenal have the ability to do that. That's why I probably go Jorginho, Odegaard, Saka, and then left wing. What do you do? Because of course you've got Trossard, who would seem the first name on a team sheet if we are missing Martinelli, and from what I've seen, it probably looks like we are missing Martinelli. Hopefully not. If Martinelli's available, of course, I play Martinelli on the left wing. But say if Martinelli's not available for this game, do you do Trossard or do you do Gabriel Jesus? In my opinion, I play Gabriel Jesus. I think Gabriel Jesus is always up for the Champions League. Like, we've heard the Brazilian players talk about how much of an achievement the Champions League is, and I think that does give Gabriel Jesus that extra level. You know, we know how much it means to them as a nation. We hear it in their interviews all the time. So I think you do play Gabriel Jesus. And I'm not saying Trossard doesn't feel the same way, by the way, but I'm just saying we have proof of Gabriel Jesus actually performing on this stage. You know, at one point in this season, he was Arsenal's top scorer in this competition. So we have proof that he does work in the Champions League. And besides the Champions League, Gabriel Jesus is a fantastic player. You don't need me to sell you Gabriel Jesus. You know what he's like when he's on fire. You know, in a lot of people's opinions, he is Arsenal's best striker. You can't play him there at the minute, though, with how well Kai Havertz is playing, and I certainly wouldn't. You know, and if it was a decision of playing Jesus or Havertz up front, I would have to say that Havertz deserves that position. You know, he scored 4 goals in the last 4 games. This is a player who's very much in the form of his life since he's moved to the Premier League, in fact. He doesn't have a goal-scoring record as good as this since he's been at Chelsea, and certainly since he's been at Arsenal as well. So Kai Havertz, I can't wait to see what he can do in this game. We know he's a big game player. He's already proved it to us. We learnt in the last game that Kai Havertz does have the ability to pop up when needed. And that isn't the only game he's done that for Arsenal. He's done it in a couple of games. He's popped up with big moments. So in my opinion, the front line has to be Saka, Jesus, and probably Kai Havertz. Like I said, of course, that's going to be subjective. Everyone will play different midfielder, maybe left back and left winger. But those 3 positions in particular, I would love to hear people's opinions on those. Who would you play left back, centre mid and left wing? Let me know in the comment section. And in terms of what Porto are going to bring us, look, we singled out in the last match breakdown where their key areas are. We know they've got a good striker. Evan Nilsson's a good striker. We know they have plenty of experience in that back line with players like Pepe. Now, they're not the quickest in the world, but they don't play a high line like Arsenal, so you're never really going to get them on a one-on-one position where you're going to have Saka or Havertz or even Trossard on a one-on-one against Pepe. Now, you can find him in isolated areas if you receive the ball, but he's more than good enough to tackle. So I don't think age in this game is going to play a huge factor. But I do think Arsenal still have the ability to have success in this game. We've seen how effective The Jorginho, Saka and Odegaard triangles can be on that right-hand side. And I mentioned after the game against Brentford, we need to try and mirror that on the left-hand side. And I think naturally that will improve now with the reintroduction of Alexander Zinchenko back into the team. But as soon as that whistle goes, Arsenal need to get onto that front foot. Put a couple of positive actions on the field straight away, no matter what it is. If it's a big tackle, if you skill a player out, if you play a nice 1-2 and you break the lines, whatever you need to try and get this stadium as riled up as you can early doors, that will play into Arsenal's hands. And that will just allow us to settle into the game. There's going to be a lot of nerves going into this game. The players are going to be up for it, of course. They're going to be excited. We heard William Saliba talking about how they can't wait to get into this game. And I feel that from the players. These players do have the mentality, you know, they come across to me like they can't wait to play in these big kind of games. And if these are the kind of games these Arsenal players want to be remembered for, they go out tomorrow night and they win this game. Of course, I think they have the ability to do it. If you're asking me for a score prediction, I think Arsenal are going to win 3-1. And I think Arsenal are going to book their place in the next round of the Champions League. But that's just my thoughts. I would love to know everyone's thoughts and suggestions on everything you've heard in this video. So let me know in the comment section. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go, do me the favour of giving this video a like and subscribe. And I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.